Right, today I quickly want to break down everything that went into making this exact render that you're seeing right now on the screen. It turned out very well, and I just want to walk you through kind of how I made everything and the biggest takeaways that you can get from it as well. But first, so this is like quite a simple scene setup, and I basically use it in every single like render that I do, and it's also going to be very similar for if you watch videos from people like Max Hay. This is basically the scene setup that I have, even like my whole layout of the screen. So I just have a little render view in the back, like bottom right corner, that has my camera. Usually I just take these two off and then just right click header, show header, just so I can just have a clean render. So I'll just leave that rendered view. Obviously using my GPU so it doesn't take a bunch of time to render and stuff like that. But yeah, cool. And then viewport, shader editor over here so I can work with my materials as I'm going, and then the UV editor down here. Cool. So let me just break down firstly how I made these server racks over here. So I should have be able to hide all of these so I can just have the server racks. Okay, so basically the first thing is just a little frame. This is quite simple. It's literally just like a cube. You can just take a cube and then just add add edge loops or just inset each face. I did edge loops here, and then just delete them. And then some simple modifiers. Literally just have a array modifier to go along, and it's fine for these because you don't actually have to randomize these. It just goes along. So I have an array to do that. So you can see I can just make it like bring it in and out. Then I also have a mirror to bring it onto the other side, and I have the mirror as the plane, and then just a solidifier and a bevel. Yeah, so basically the solidifier just adds some thickness, and the bevel just to round out the corners. So you can see without the solidifier, it'll just be like a plane, and then I add the solidifier, and then add the bevel, and that just makes the corners look nice and the reflections and stuff like that. Okay, cool. Then I also just made a little thing over here, which is literally just a simple little shape like this. And then I beveled the edges. I think I just used a bevel modifier, and then solidify as well. And then literally just arrayed it up. I think I applied them all, but yeah. And then just mirror to get it on either side, and then array modifiers, and then another mirror to get it there. And those are the ones that go duplicated all the way down. And then I just made 3 different types of pieces to go inside the server racks. So the first one is this top one. So I actually just duplicated the same shape for these two, just made different like inside parts, just to make it kind of themes consistent with all of them. Because that was kind of what showed up in my reference images was stuff looking like this. So this one, I think I applied all the modifiers and stuff, but basically I just took this face in here. So it's just basically a cube, and then another cube over here that has a bevel on it. Again, so like all of this is just really simple modeling techniques. There's just a bunch of cubes that have been like arrayed along, and then there, this plane, I literally just added a plane, add an edge loop down the middle, and then just inserted it for this gap, just deleted it, and then inserted over here. I was supposed to add a screen, but then I didn't, and I duplicated everything, so now it's too late. I should have done like a link to duplicate or something, but oh well, too bad. And then this thing as well is literally just a plane with a solidifier and an array modifier, and ends up pretty simple. This is literally another cube with just some cubes over here to kind of be the part that like latches onto the server. Then these, it's quite a cool like a little tip, is just when you're using like bevel, we make a quick shape like this. What you can do is like if you just take these two edges, bevel them, you can see this is the like default bevel. But if you open up here, you can change it to a custom shape, and if you bump up the resolution, you can see you can kind of get stuff like that. So this is supposed to be like Ethernet port or something. You can see, so I literally just made this little shape in there, and it's literally just a bevel, so it's quite simple. And then I basically just took these and like did inset to them, and then so if you imagine it was like this, I just took it, inset, or yeah, there. So I just took these, inset them individual, and then just extruded them in, and then selected both of the bottom edges, and then just bevel it like that for each of these ports, and then just duplicated that along. And that's basically how I made this part of the server rack. And then this one is literally just I grabbed the plane, added a couple edge loops along, and then just inserted and then inserted again. So basically like I took a plane like this, and then I kind of just turn it into a grid, and then just inset slightly, Control R, delete these faces, took all of these inset, and then just brought them forward like that. That's literally how I made it. And then I just thought it would be like a cool thing with reflections and stuff like that, and ended up actually working pretty decently. Yeah, that's basically it. And then this is something that could work very well with geometry nodes. It would be great if I did know how to use geometry nodes, but I don't. So basically, I just have to duplicate all of these manually. So it's basically just, I would kind of like take them and then just duplicate them up and down. You can see, so that's basically all it is, just randomly duplicating all of them. So you can see it looks very random, but it also looks like it's a server rack. It's not going to be that much randomness. You're still going to have the same components going throughout your whole servers. But yeah, so that's what I did. Again, I really want to learn geometry nodes just so I can save time with these stuff. But yeah, and then to save time, I literally just took this and then just duplicate it, rotate Z 180. Actually, wait, let me turn off so median point. Just rotate Z 180 and brought it across because I couldn't be bothered to manually place all of these. So it's literally just the mirror opposite of that. And these are all the way in the end, so no one's going to be able to tell anyway. Yeah, so that's basically the whole of the server rack. I think I also made doors for them, but I just didn't really like them because I wanted to have like cables and stuff. So having doors would just kind of ruin the look of it. Okay, the room is pretty simple. I did each of the walls for like when I was doing clay renders and stuff, but yeah, basically all I did was I took a plane. Again, it's going to be a lot of the same modeling techniques. I basically just took a plane, added edge loops to make it a grid, and then I just took it, inset, and then make sure R for individual, like this. Just go to like something like that, Control R. Actually, if you're on faces, so go face select, Control R, X faces. You see, you get a shape like this, and then I just extruded it up, or you can just add a solidify modifier, and then on top of that, just add a plane like that. Oh wait, actually, I'm doing it the wrong way. Never mind. Wait, so what you're actually supposed to do is, yeah, just delete these faces, and then just take this, extrude it up, or again, add a solidifier, and then just add a plane like that, and then just drag it up, and then there you go. You have the roofing, and you can see from there it works pretty well. And then basically what I did is I just kind of added a couple edge loops to line up with the holes, and then you can just take a face, so like here, you just go Y, and that separates it, and you can move it freely. So I kind of just brought it up slightly, like this. So Y, brought it up slightly, and then just like rotated it, just so it kind of got like a little bit of a gap in the roof. It just kind of made sense to me, and that's kind of what you see with the roofs looking like this. Okay, and let me actually break down some of my materials here. So for this one in particular, basically all I did was I just took a noise texture, plugged it into the bump, and made it super small, so it just looks like that little, you know what I'm talking about, like it's like that whatever texture that gets seen on all the stuff like that. Yeah, and then I was trying to make stuff with like the ambient occlusion and stuff, but wasn't really working. But yeah, I just gonna be able to take it off, and that's kind of the texture for that. The texture for these, I kind of use the same material for all the textures. It's just a displacement map for, I think it's actually for another, for the concrete. But yes, you see, it's just a random image taken with a color ramp and then plugged it into the roughness of this metal shader, just to kind of add some randomness to it. This one, I think, is actually a, yeah, same image, brushed concrete. This, I think I just changed the position and rotation just to make it, because if you have the same thing arrayed again and again and again, you're going to see like it's going to be the exact same on every single one. So I basically took two of them, moved them around, rotated them for each, like for the two different types, and then just took a noise ramp and plugged that in. So one of them is like this, you can see like very repetitive every single time, and then the other one like this, and then when you mix them together, so they're more random. Like it still looks quite repeating, but it's better than nothing. Yeah, I think that's majority of the shaders, and then this is literally just an emission with a color ramp for like a random. That's just plugged into the strength, and then just multiply it to make it brighter. Because if it wasn't, it would like it would be a lot darker. So you can just grab a math node, change it to multiply, make it a value, and then that can also change the brightness. So you can like make it brighter or darker, which is quite nice. Yeah, that's a lot of it. I think the floor is just a, yeah, it's a placement. So you can see it's kind of like shiny on the floor. So this image, this is also have a noise texture. I think I wanted to make it like kind of like shiny patches because this is all being plugged into the roughness. So you can see, so that's why I have like rough patches like that. And then this mix, I don't think I even use it. Not sure why exactly, but yeah. This bump going into there. I think this is supposed to actually be going there. Let's see. I think this was basically just to like flatten out the puddles or something. Or, oh yeah, so what I was basically trying to do is like get this texture for the puddle. I'm not sure exactly if it worked or not, but yeah. I didn't end up with it in there. But yeah, I basically just plugged this into the heart. And then that makes some bump on the floor, so you have to catch some light and stuff like that. Which actually, I think was slightly too strong, so it actually turned out pretty badly in the render. But yeah, that's the texture for the floor. Okay, and the cables, again, I could probably use geometry nodes or something like that, but I manually placed all of these cables. It's literally just a curve, and then I just took the thing, went to geometry, make the depth a bit bigger, click fill cap, so you're gonna have like a gap over there. But yeah, and that's literally all it is, and it's just a curve. So I just duplicate a lot of times. So floor, it's probably have a repeating. I think I did the same thing. I took like all of these ones and then just duplicated it and then rotated on the z-axis, and then just made it like slightly different, just so it wouldn't look slightly like repeating. And then these, I think, is the same thing, but basically it's just basically lining them up with the ports along here. So it's literally just, I went and added one thing over here, one thing over here, so it would like be a direct line. Subdivided it, so I just went W subdivide, so it add a point in the middle, and I could just drag it down, and then it'll make a nice curve. And then you just kind of have to like duplicate it, and then bring it up, down, line these up properly with all of them, and stuff like that. So yeah, it was not too hard, but just pretty time consuming and literally just a waste of time. Yeah. And then also just have a simple material on them, just literally just another image, and then just plug that into the roughness with the color ramp. So that some parts of roughness, I don't think it really made a difference. But yeah, that was what I did. And then the last thing, I really had no idea what to do with it, but this cube in the middle, I was just watching a random Max Hay video, and what I came up with, which was kind of based on I think it's doing a Beeple style video. Basically, all it is this one. You can see this texture is two images. One of them, they're both this thing called JS placement. You can find like a JS placement start. One of them's going into the alpha, one of them going into the roughness, and then the transmission up to 1. So that makes it like glass. So if I do this and go into cycles, scene world, you can see, so this is basically all it does. So one for the roughness, so this is kind of what it looks like. So some parts of it are super rough and some parts are not. And then the alpha, some parts are see-through and some parts are not. So just layering both of those on top of each other. And then if I think I grabbed 2 of those. And then this one. So let me actually grab all 3 of these. So you can see, so one's a glass, another one's a glass, and then this middle one, very similar, just taking the image, placing it into a color ramp multiplier for the strength of the thing to make it brighter. And yeah, so you can see, so if I didn't, it wouldn't do that. And then also just another image for the alpha, very similar to that. And it turned out quite well. Yeah. And then also, lastly, the camera. So I think if I use this camera, this is my hero shot what the camera I use. If I turn off scene world, you can see the whole thing distorts like that. And I was just using a specific camera setup that only works in cycles, by the way. So let me show you how to do it quickly. So basically, all it is if you go to your camera, you can see type panoramic. This only shows up in cycles. So if you change that from perspective to panoramic, and then changes to fisheye lens polynomial, and by default, it's going to be quite zoomed in. So especially if you're going for like a what's it like a oh the word escapes me. if you go in for like a 16mm lens or something, you kind of have to play with, I think it's the K1 is the one that zooms it out. So you can bring that out and it actually goes back to something like a 16mm lens. Because I think when I used it, it was like a lot zoomed in like this, which I didn't really want. I wanted closer to like the 16mm. You see, so I'm 1.8 to make it wider, and still has that curving edge, which is something that I thought was really cool. And the last thing that I have in every scene is just a cube like this with a material, volume scatter, and you can see this is something that actually does quite a lot. So if I hide it like this, is it hidden or not? Yeah. So basically, it just adds some mist to it, which just like adds a bit more to the scene. Because I don't think I have it very high, so something that just adds a bit of glow, a bit of mist. If you drag it up, it'll affect a lot more. But yeah. Okay, let's hop into Photoshop, and I'll show you how to edit the whole picture. As well, when I'm rendering out, basically what I do is I set my render pixels, the size to 3000 by 3750. I'm not sure why exactly, but yeah, that's the resolution I use. And I think with this render in particular, I used 256 samples, so it took like 30-40 minutes to render, which is longer than I usually do, but yeah, I wanted the scene to look nice. So here is the final edit. So let me just take all of these layers off so you can see like as it's getting like deconstructed. Okay, so this is the raw render, and something that you'll see do a lot of times in every single render is you just take this image, duplicate it, blur it, and then change the blend mode to screen. So you can see what this does. So basically just add a thing. So I just have a mask. So all you need to do a mask. So you can see this is what the whole thing looks like. As I said, just a blurred image with the thing to set to screen. You just add a mask. You press Control R to invert it, and then just grab a paintbrush, change it to white, and you can start painting on the parts that you want to add the like glow to. And then I just grabbed some lens dirt effects. So you see these two. It's just very subtle, but it just makes it look a little bit better. I think again these are just with a mask, so you just add the mask, invert it, paint it on the parts. So you kind of paint it on the bright parts, and you can even like if you want to go add them like up here, whatever, and you can see it like start popping up over here. So it kind of feels like it's something. The light from the middle of the thing is like bouncing off of the lens dirt or something like that. Yeah, it just makes it look a bit nicer. It looks like it's actual real lens. Yeah. And then what I did after that is you just make a new layer, go Control Alt Shift E, and then that will make a new layer with all of your previous things below here. And then filter, go convert to smart filters, and then add a camera raw filter. And then what that does is you can add a camera raw. Let me open it up and show you all of the effects that I did to this image in particular. Again, this is going to be very different for each image, the different lighting, different things. So yeah, it's basically just the whole thing. So what you can do is, so I changed like exposure. What you can do is press Alt and you'll see how, like, if anything's clipping or whatever. So you can mess around with exposure, sharply, contrast. I don't usually like doing the contrast because I can just mess around with shadows and highlights and not mess around with the overall contrast. Maybe it's because my images are usually like already contrasty enough. But yeah, what you can do is with the highlights and shadows, drag it around and hold Alt, and you'll kind of see how much of the image is black and white. So you can see here, I'm just kind of dragging it until like some parts were just pure white, and same thing with the blacks, but I think a lot of this was black. Kind of just dragging until there's some like actual pure blacks in the scene. And that's just the first light section. Color, I just brought up the vibrance because I just liked how much like blue it added in the middle cube. That's basically all I used it for. And then just an extra bit of saturation. Does exactly the same thing, add some blue in the middle, and it just makes the whole scene. And this is also basically makes it more contrasty just with more colors. And then here, I think with the texture, I just brought it down slightly. I'm not sure exactly why, maybe just to do it. But I brought the clarity up. And it's just because it kind of like, it almost adds like shadows around stuff, if you see what I mean. So like as I bring it up, it kind of like makes it pop more. You'll see like TikTok filters, they'll do a lot of that. Don't go too overboard with it, but it kind of worked with this image. I usually don't use it that much. And they just add a little bit of grain. Grain looks terrible if you have like a noisy image from renders, but grain, like you'll see film grain if you watch like the films. Like it can look nice. It's up to you, but I like adding grain. Yeah, and the last one is just detail. I just bump up the sharpening. It just looks cool, and yeah, that's basically the whole camera raw filter. I think I just added some curves over it just to make it like just a little bit better, and then I think I converted it to an image again, and then I just got a color lookup. I didn't actually end up using it, but oh well. What I did as well is make some chromatic aberration, which is this colors on the sides. And basically how I do that is actually very simple. I follow like a tutorial for it. You go to channels, and then you open it up in the camera raw filter. So I think you take it and you go Control Shift A, and that opens it in the camera raw. And then what you can do is go to the optics and then change the distortion. So you just do it like 1 or 2 values, and it'll do it only specifically on that color channel. And then you can see, so like if I go back to RGB, you can see, so it just bumps that, like if I zoom in here, it just bumps the color off slightly, which I thought also just with this kind of scene looked right. Yeah, so that's how I made this whole scene. By the way, go check out my Discord, link down below. You can come chat to me, and if you guys want to get coaching, you can message me about that. Yeah, enjoy, and I'll see you in the next video.